Welcome to Architecture, Design, and Photography, Lauren Andersen. Is that
Thank
where we have
you.
the
Nice to be here.
background clapping and applause? So, Lauren, you're warm and I'm cold. That's just how it is today, coast to coast. I was actually back in Oakland earlier this summer with some friends. A really, really incredible place once you get back up on those hills above Oakland, looking across the bay to San Francisco and all that. Just absolutely incredible
Yeah, it's a
geography out
great
there.
place. Yeah.
So you are the founder and principal photographer of Oakland-based Sen Creative. And what is Sen Creative, and what kind of photography do you do primarily? And yada yada yada.
Yep. I actually pronounce it Sen Creative because my last name is Andersen with an Sen and my maiden name
Gotcha.
was Hansen with an Sen. So my entire life I've literally been correcting people that it's Sen, not Son. Um,
Right.
but yeah, we're based in the Bay Area. I started the main business about 5 years ago, right at the beginning of COVID. Um, but I've been shooting interiors and architecture for about 12 years.
Yeah. Now, how did you find your way into it?
I stumbled into it a little bit when I moved to San Francisco. It was, one of those like friend of a friend things. And this was right when home polish was expanding out here. And, they needed photographers. And so I got to
Mm,
do like a lot of practice. And even when Airbnb was paying for listings to be shot, this is, over 10 years ago
right.
now. That's really where I got to do a lot of practice, which was really great.
So instead of having to cut your teeth with real estate agents, you were kind of a little bit more in the Airbnb to get in and on your way up. That's
Exactly.
interesting. Airbnb had some good guidelines just to say, all right, maybe let the
Mm-hmm.
windows blow out and make sure everything's vertical and go with one single color temperature. It seems like
Yep.
they went with like three things to say, like, this is how you're going to make it not horrible. And
Yep.
it seems like they were able to kind of take those guidelines and control their imagery at a large scale.
And I also worked with Sonder for a while. That's now just gone up, belly up.
Hmm.
But that was also like, they had a great style guide, that was really well thought out and
Yeah.
really were big on making everything consistent over, many markets.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was really good practice for sure. And also just, having that volume didn't pay well, but it was practice.
Well, yeah, that at starting out, volume really is probably more important than income. Because if you all of a sudden
Yeah.
get income and you don't deserve, the income at that point, I think it's good for people to start out in areas where there's not a lot of trust, but you have a lot of guidelines. And as you show
Yep.
you can meet those and then occasionally exceed it, then the people pull the strings. All right, let's move you up a bit, up a bit, up a bit. And then you get to a point where your portfolio says enough for you. And then you kind of start to maybe pull the strings more so than, the people hiring you to a degree.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
how did you find your first attempt at shooting interiors? Mine was very, very difficult.
It was I definitely was not using, I'm thinking like my very first kind of like I was pitching myself to home polish and I shot a friend's apartment in San Francisco that worked at a high-end interior firm. So, it was like a
Hmm.
nice looking place I had access to. But, I was just using natural light. I knew at least not to turn the lights on. I knew that,
Right.
I know I went to art school. I know about composition and like I knew like the basics.
Right.
But I was
Right.
definitely shooting natural light. I didn't know how to use strobes or anything yet. So, it was, of course, you look back at those things and you're like, oh my God, it was so awful. But, you just got to get in the door, and then then that practice really pays off.
Right. How did you do a lot of layer blending starting out, or how did you get the natural light to work for you?
I would do like slightly blown out windows, but
Yep.
I would usually layer in the window exposures if we needed it.
Hmm.
That's about it. Yep.
Yeah, I went to architecture school and learned, light and composition roughly, but not something that I was producing as a with a media eye. They
Mm,
taught us about light and composition in composing your presentations and in composing a work of architecture, but I'd never really approached it from a I am making a scene viewed through a two-dimensional box as far as a frame or a screen or. And so that was a weird thing for me to go through that process of like when I got access to my first interior shoot, it was for a courthouse that no one was hiring me, but I just got access to shoot it because I was trying to become an
yeah.
architectural photographer because I dropped out of being an actual architect because it just didn't fit my personality well. And it was really hard because I had always approached something from like looking at something from the outside rather than being
Mm,
inside and being surrounded by your subject and having to choose kind of like a section of your subject, even though you're in a wide view format. Like even if you're at 24 or whatever, you're
right.
still picking out an interior. It was a very odd thing. And I gave up like halfway through. I was just like, this is horrible. I don't know how to do this. I can't really get the lighting. I didn't know yet, like really about the blending of color temperatures for interior and exterior and all that. I was aware of it, but I just hadn't clicked for me. So I got access to this courthouse, went and tried to photograph it. Didn't work out. And I just went home and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I got one more opportunity to shoot a residence that a friend of mine's previous employer had done, and I kept seeing it, and every time I drove by, there was like this moment where I was like, "That's the composition. That looks really good from right there."
Mm,
But I didn't even have the words for composition really. I was kind of would drive by, and there's like a little click of like, "That's a really pretty view of that house." It was like
yeah.
just grass and the skyline and the house. It was just really minimalist kind of look. And I remember thinking like, all right, let me give it one more try and I'll try and figure out who the builder is and see if the builder can get me access to that. And from there, it just kind of worked out for me that a magazine came by to that builder when I delivered the photos and
Mm,
tried to get them to advertise. And they were like, you should check out this photographer. And then I got my opportunity there to cut my teeth on a bunch of projects for a local design publication that, didn't pay a ton, but you were getting paid
right.
and you could pay your bills enough and you could learn, which was really nice. Now, how how tedious do you find your work compared to what you would shoot if you just had the choice to go out, walk around and shoot stuff? Like what we do, especially on interiors, is a
Mm,
very, very heavy lift for an aesthetic technical processing. Like when you're
yeah.
sitting there, I imagine you shoot live view. It's just a constant heavy lift of like, is that corner too close to this curve or things like that? Are there too many
Right.
flowers? Are there too much? Um, how do you manage that heavy lift of creativity within what we do? Because it's not like it's not a walk in the park. It's a
No.
very difficult thing every time you're doing it. How do you feel after a shoot, and how do you manage your emotional creativity level to stay high and that you're going into each project thinking like, I can't wait to shoot this. I'm going to knock it out of the park kind of thing.
Right. I think, well, a couple of thoughts. I think part of what interior photographers get really, really good at, and what really needs to be practiced, is that you are going into this three-dimensional space. You're surrounded by your project, right? physically, and then you have to translate it into a two-dimensional screen, but then also make sure that it still feels there's still dimensionality in it. So I think that's a big thing that interior photographers get to practice really well. And I think, part of my workflow that I've changed as I've progressed in my career and done a lot more shoots is really slowing down, which helps save my creativity, for the right moments. But it's also like I just personally work really well on a team and collaborating with somebody. So that actually gives me the energy. So, yeah, we might move that plate on that coffee table 10 times, but to me, when you get that moment, that's like the payoff, and, everybody's like really happy about it. And, oftentimes I'll move something very small and the designer's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you saw that. And, it's a muscle, it's practice. And I think, I think slowing down for me on shoots was actually a really good way to save some of my energy.
Now, what do you mean by slowing down? What's that actually look like for you at a shoot? Or by slowing down, do you mean life in general, only on shoots, or a way that you direct the shoot, that everything just simply goes slower so you can process more and make sure you're making the right decisions?
It's more on location that I've slowed down. I'm like, I do very few handhelds. I'm delivering a little, like a few less images. I used, like a half day, I would deliver like 50 shots, which, I just have shifted my business plan and like my shooting life. So I've just learned to like take a breath. I don't need to move. I still shoot pretty quickly, just because I feel like I'm a very decisive shooter. I don't need to like take 10 different versions of each shot.
Right.
Like if me and the client are happy, like we move on. But yeah. I don't know if that really answers your question.
Oh yeah. I've done a similar thing. When I look at the screen, I think I'm a good 20 years older than you probably. So, I've done the same thing over time. I have these kind of 3 stages of my career so far that I would say. Like when I started out, like you were saying, I deliver as much as possible just to like, I want to make a living and I'm doing it taking pictures. This is amazing. And then after that, you can start to feel like, geez, I'm taking a lot of pictures. And I'm like, it's kind of like you ate too much cake. It's like, wow, cake's great. And then all of a sudden, like, whoa, a lot of cake. And you have to kind of, now I got to go retouch the cake. Now I got to go, now I got to go jogging to burn off the cake. And so I can eat more cake. And I've had enough cake. I had that first part of my career and I just found myself just burning the candle at both ends because it's such a hard thing to get your foot in the door. It's like trying to make a living by shooting a half-court shot. It's like there's a lot of people that want to do what you do and everyone's throwing balls from the half-court line. Someone makes it and a lot of people don't. And it's just my analogy for that is that the person that treads water consistently at the surface enough will always be in the spot that when the opportunities come down low enough, they're able to grab them. But if you don't, if you stop treading water, you're not going to be able to grab them. And it's just a matter of staying there long enough and enough opportunities come down. And you just keep grabbing at every one. But in that first part of my career, I didn't burn out, but I could feel like this is too heavy of a lift. And I started saving for a studio manager retoucher so I didn't have to eat the cake and then re-eat the cake and then pretend I didn't eat the cake and remake the cake, So I could go and shoot once and then pass off the work to a second person who was hitting it for the first time, having not seen it, that way they have a fresh creative look on it. And I found that took a lot of weight off of me and allowed for that creativity to come back in. And then I also started with my assistant that works with me all the time. I had him start driving to every photo shoot. So I had the time. We're in Maine, so we're usually traveling to Boston for work or like down east. Or it's in Portland. It doesn't take that long. But usually there's anywhere from like a half an hour to 3 hour drive anytime we shoot. And so that's like potentially up to 6 hours in a single day where I can get a lot of work done if I'm on my laptop going to town as we're driving and you have mobile access and all that. So I kind of found like that trajectory over time. I kept doing these things to make what I was doing more enjoyable and to keep me interested, because I could tell that the talent that I was able to put in, the real value that I'm getting paid for, is the creativity in that moment of solving that problem of what's going to be the 2D representation of the three-dimensional space that we're looking at. That's it. Everything else is art or are things that the post-production is still a very artistic thing, but everything else is pretty much manageable by people who can be paid to do those things as a technical job. So I kept filtering out all the technical things, and our last move right now is to my studio manager's taking over basically all business, everything, and I'm just showing up on the schedule when I'm supposed to show up and, familiar with the project and shooting it, which has kind of this third level of like, oh, wow, okay, this is great. But
That's
what
great,
I've found for me is now that I'm going to shoots, I'll have my assistant manage the larger camera a lot for the really set up shots. And so I'll kind of direct and interact with him through the iPad of what we're doing. But I really don't handle and manage the medium format. We use a Fuji. I really don't do a lot of that. I actually keep a smaller camera and do the opposite of what you're doing in a way. I run around and shoot more as seeing what... Yeah, it's a much more low success rate, but high creative input in me just kind of wandering while he's working with the client to really refine down these other things like moving flowers and apexes of things and corners. He's a really good photographer, and he goes out and shoots for us a fair amount too. But he's really good at the styling and everything too. So I found that in relieving that really heavy technical lift, he's able to come in and I pay him considerably more. And so I'm working as a director for what we're shooting as the primary shot list. But then I get all these additional kind of creative shots that kind of add something to it, but we still keep a post-production fee to every single image, no matter if it's from the big camera or the small one, the smaller camera. Yeah, it's a single frame. I'm not really bracketing. Sometimes I'll just kind of 3-shot bracket, but it's all handheld. And so those images, they're hit and miss, but there's a lot of winners in there that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And there's still the profitability on the post-production part of it if they choose to grab that image. And the thing that I found is, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask if like your clients, a lot of what I hear from designers is, those detail shots, the more creative shots, even though those usually won't be published, but, they like to see those. And I'm curious if you've had like a higher clients buying those images because, you've managed to add those on to the more standard images.
Yeah, what we'll do is Tim, my studio manager, he'll deliver the really structured tripod images. Right. And those are usually much more expository, living room, kitchen, bedroom, exterior. And then the other images that I'm grabbing, he'll deliver those as separate contact sheets and a lot more images, but they're all, essentially just one-offs, and they'll go through there. And what we found is they'll pick a lot of those, but they'll want to try and get past paying for editing. And we have to kind of stick to our guns and say, nope, this still comes with an editing fee. We don't want anything going out that hasn't gotten our stamp of approval of all the things. But we'll give you a reduced rate on post-production on these because there's not as much leeway, really, to
Right.
and I do find, interestingly, clients are responding currently to going to a more film look overall,
Yeah.
where for the last 20, let's see, 2005, for the last 20 years, we've had a like, ooh, look what we can do in Photoshop kind of approach. And I think a lot of people of starting out and still go too far in post-production, and you get a lot of perfectly exposed windows outside that don't look believable, and the window edges will be
Right.
blown out, but so there's all that kind of stuff. But I think we're getting the shift back towards this aesthetic that one-off images do reflect a little bit darker shadows, a little bit brighter highlights, and a little grainy
Right.
maybe, or it's just got more, I think, authenticity to it that people are responding to in the current culture. But yeah, so my trajectory, similar to yours, trying to slow down, but in different ways that meet our different personalities, maybe, that pay
Yeah.
us back emotionally. Like, I
Yeah.
need to be paid. It's weird. I need to be paid emotionally in the process, maybe more than the money. But I think the money starting out is what I had to have to pay for a family
Right.
and bills. But if you're not getting the emotional payback for it, you can start to not care about the money either. I think that's the
Mm.
crux with a creative individual, is they're really not doing it for the money. The money's kind of if I have to get money, but it's like an outside requirement that,
Right.
but the internal requirement is that I've got so much stuff going through my head. If I can channel it towards making something, I'm at a lot more peace. And I think
Mm.
that's kind of like just a creative person existence, that if you
Yeah.
can find yourself into that process, you're getting paid no matter what. And that's also, I think, why a lot of creative people can be taken advantage of, is because people
Yes,
know they
absolutely.
have to do this. And so they're like, oh, I've been told by editors that, oh, well, if you're not going to do it for this fee, we'll just create another photographer. Like, they've
Right.
actually said that, and
Yeah.
it's just so belittling to hear someone say that, whatever. Don't waste time on being bitter. But
I was also just thinking when you were talking about being on the location the day of, interior designers are also inherently creative people, which is, I think, what makes it so fun. It's you're
yeah.
not, I mean, technically art directors are creatives, but it's not like a standard commercial shoot where you've got directors and clients and marketing agencies and blah, blah, blah. It's kind of typically, it's a little more intimate, and you're in someone's, I shoot
Right.
primarily residential. You're in someone's like personal space. And I feel like that's also a great time that I get to talk with designers and kind of, a lot of times they're working, a little isolated as well. They're like, they're not going into a large office and every day and having interactions. A lot of times they're small firms that are, you know, it can be isolating. And so I think I also pick up on that, and I enjoy like little bit of the therapizing with the designers about, how they're small, but we're all small business owners. So how's their business
Right.
going? What's working for them? Have they found a great accountant? Like what are some of the pitfalls and, great things. And I think that's also part of what I enjoy on shoots that gives me the energy, is I like
Hmm.
to see how people are feeling in their businesses.
Yeah. Have you had a lot of experience shooting with agencies and then direct for client, between the two types of shoots?
I haven't done a lot of agency shoots.
Uh,
Those have
so
been,
I've only
yeah,
done a couple, like maybe like real agency shoots where an agency is between myself and like Hilton,
yep, yeah.
and
That's when I did it, was for a hotel group.
yeah. So
Yep,
in those shoots, there's often a lot of people there that you can't really sense how they're attached to this, and what their input is, and why
yep,
they're saying anything, and what they
yep,
really bring to the table. And a
yep.
lot of times their input is kind of like, well, I guess you're justifying your salary or something right now. But
Right.
when you work with the direct client, there's so much like, no, our website format is this, so we need a few of these, and then we'll need a few of those, and yeah, that won't work well for us. But this, it's like you're right there cooking with the person who's going to eat,
Exactly.
rather than having a waiter in between. And that to me is an interesting dynamic that photographers in the architectural sphere, I think, get to interact with, because you'll have things like the wedding photographer sphere or the real estate photographer sphere or nature photographer, but then agency photographer, but then this architectural interior designer one is this weird one where you can make good money, but you're not generally working through agencies, and you then typically work more probably than an agency photographer would, and make more. But the agency photographers are doing jobs that have much larger budgets, but the budgets get eaten up by the agencies,
Right.
So it's this weird kind of thing where you have to wear more hats and do a lot more kind of client interaction and management and business management probably, but then you get your hand in everything more so, and you get your hand in the cookie jar of pay more too, because you're having to do more and you're responsible for more. So I'm not sure which existence would be better. I have a friend who's started out as a surf photographer and now does a lot of work for bigger agencies and stuff. He's an incredibly talented photographer, but I do find he probably has considerably more spare time than me, but I think I have more work and income. And I'm not sure which I'd want more, honestly. And I think it's probably spare time, but yeah.
That's
so
the next
you
step.
had, what's that?
I said that's your next step.
Yeah, that's what I'm currently working on, is to try and see if I can do that. How do you spot red flags for your perfect photographer client match?
Ooh. Anytime a client asks me to give them a deal, I mean, that's a red flag. I mean, can you do it like whenever? And honestly, that usually comes with them. I don't want to get in trouble. Also, my other red flag is clients calling me randomly and not making appointments, which I think when you're a small business owner and it can be hard to put up some of those boundaries. Calling me Friday at 5:30 is not how you win me over, and it's not how you get me to give you a deal either. So, things like that. I think that and I've only really had this happen once, is on set after, we're already shooting, we're contract signed, blah, blah, blah. Is like when I have the shot, we're looking at the shot on the laptop screen, and, they're like, great, love it. Is that what the lighting is going to be? And I'm like, well, so this is what the point of the laptop is, and then they can't explain what they are wanting changed. And then what happens is when I show previews and then try to do retouching, well, I don't like the lighting. It's like, well, that's not something I can change anymore. Like the shoot's done. We approved, so I've only had that happen once or twice, but yeah, I feel like when designers can't really explain what, like, do a little bit of art directing where they're like, no, I really I need it to feel more like this. I need it to feel more moody or less moody, or, sometimes they just can't communicate what it is exactly that they want. So that's something else. But that's also like when designers do a lot of shoots over years, they get better at it too, just like anybody else that, you get experience doing things.
That's a thing. You can always tell when you're working with a architect, designer, interior designer that it's their first time on a photo shoot. They're
Yep.
way more like, and they're, and it's just kind of like, oh, no, 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 no. I've done this a lot. It's going to be okay. Don't worry.
Yep.
Please
Yep.
back off.
Yeah,
I actually
exactly.
had a client get really not this person. Well, I'll try and keep it completely ambiguous. This person was not really the direct client, but they were someone who had say in the shoot. And I probably should have socially managed it better. And I'm sure there's a lot of, my own personality to blame. And, there's a lot maybe I could have done to avoid it, but I had no clue that it was, coming to a head. And it seemed this individual was very, very just kept micromanaging.
Hmm.
And I think I started to just kind of try and physically create separation so I could work, but like, all right, well, we're going to shoot this and we'll come back and check in with you kind of thing to just kind of,
Right.
and eventually the client got kind of this representative, or, it was kind of like, well, this might just, I have other things to do. It might probably go better if I just wasn't here. I was like, okay, that's fine. Is there anything else you want to say before? Okay, great. All right. Well, and and as soon as they left, I was like, oh, whew. And we're able to, finish the shoot. I thought it came out great. And the people that were in charge that, got to shoot, loved it, came out great. And I immediately called their team and was like, hey, by the way, so-and-so's probably a little upset. It just didn't seem to go well on set today, just to let you know. I'm sure, I could have handled it better. I'm not sure. I tried to take all the blame and just let them know, like,
Right. Right.
very sorry if I offended anything, but yeah, it's just weird. Like some people really want to micromanage, especially when in an architectural setting, the work that architects do is so incredibly difficult. It
Yeah.
really is. Like compared to what we do, honestly, it is way more difficult.
Absolutely.
But if you're not dumb enough or, to take the chance to be a photographer, it really is a dumb move because who's going to base their, like comfort and income off of like taking half court shots, right?
Right.
But there's no other chance. You cannot be happy working a normal job, I don't think, is how I feel about myself.
I feel the
I
exact
can't do
same
it.
way, and I'm would be useless in a corporate environment.
Thank you. Me too. Deeply know this.
Yeah.
Deeply know this. And so there's this weird thing of like, I'm really useful at this. And I know other people could probably be good at it. Maybe. I don't know. So we deal with imposter syndrome. But look, I'm the one who was risk, I incorporated enough risk in my life to end up here to be able to do this. And these are the rewards. And it turns out I'm pretty good at it. So, it's okay. But yeah, I do feel bad for architects because their work is so difficult, because I tried to do it for 3 years and I know what they go through. And so you have the tendency to, when you get on set, to, want to control the end result more so.
Mm.
And in the earlier part of my career, I did find that a lot of people tried to be like, let me show you how to use that camera, kind of situation. But as soon as you start getting clients contacting you initially saying, so-and-so told me, or, told me about your work and we really love it. And we'd like, as soon
Yeah.
as there's that switch, then everyone just kind of steps back and is like, we love what you do. And we love what we do. And we love what you do. And we know that the combination will be great. And so they just
Yeah.
kind of open the door and like, go get them, and then they stand back and are like cheerleaders. That's when you're like, whoa, I'm going to
Yeah.
knock this one out of the park. And I'm really, but as soon as they come in and start to like, I think we need to, it's just like, okay, well, if you want to be if you want me to be a very highly paid technician today, I guess I can do that.
Right. When
And
they bring out the cell phones and they're like, I want this, they're bringing out their iPhone and they're like, okay,
yeah,
I want, and they're zooming out and I'm like, so I'm not shooting on an iPhone. This, it's not like, or, all of a sudden the iPhone gets around a wall that like, like a, I'm shooting, with a big tripod
Sure.
and the full frame Canon. But, yeah, the cell phone coming out really is a pet peeve of mine on.
I have clients that will do scouting together, and one of my best clients, he does a lot of like, because he went to film school and he's pretty talented, and he kind of uses it just like a little rangefinder.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that because he'll often find things that I didn't see because he does, like, I honor the talent that client has, and all the work I do with them is better because of their involvement. Just in case the client's listening to this one, so they know, it doesn't bother me that you bring out cell phone, but I can totally get where with the wrong client, if they're bringing out the cell phone, what they're telling you is like, obviously you're not doing this well. Let's so
Yeah.
there's that.
Or, it's just like the angle is totally wrong. And then like this, like, I'm always trying to shoot for publishing, and I'm like, this is not it.
How long did it take for you to get an ability to articulate subjective interpretation of an image? Do you know what I mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
Like the ability to say this is good because, and then go pop, 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 and everyone
Right.
there's like, oh, now I see it. When you can communicate like that with clients, it's like, it's a done deal. Like,
I feel like that's another, right. Like that's another skill that's just like, I think again, like especially interior and architecture photographers, it's like, it's just another, I think, because what we do so often is more like an architect. It's very detailed. It's, it's
finicky.
moving things, finicky. Yeah, for sure.
Sensitive, finicky.
Sensitive. Yeah, exactly.
Hard.
And, I feel like especially in the last few years, as I've done more higher end shoots with, bigger budgets, as, it is communicating that, okay, so I'm thinking like if they're like, okay, we need two verticals that we're going to pair next to each other on our website, and so we really, I try to explain like, okay, like let's look at these two together, and this is why I think this is, a good pairing, etc. And I feel like, again, like art school background, you have to be able to explain yourself and explain your artistic choices, even though we're in a commercial setting. It's still a creative space. And so, I'm trying to tell them why I want to do it this way. But then a lot of times I'm like, we'll absolutely get that other shot. Let me just get this because I know we need this shot.
Right.
So that's kind of how I do both usually, if they're, pretty insistent.
So I had a individual I shared a studio with starting out, and he went to Brooks Institute out in Ventura, Santa Barbara area, and his name is Irvin Serrano, really, really talented photographer, and he had a really incredible ability to speak about subjective aesthetics and a way to explain them and a way to talk to clients to guide towards the best end result. Where a lot of times I could sense what I wanted to do, but I didn't have the ability to articulate and convince. Like I just couldn't like say the things that calms everyone to say, you've got our confidence. And so I'd constantly be working through this. Well, like, let me try this real quick and show, let me try and show, let me try and show. And just over the years, I've finally got to the place where I was able to say, no, because how about, and then like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Right.
And I listened to him speaking with clients and talking, and I would realize like, wow, I would have flubbed that big time. And I'd listen to him and he'd just like, dup, ba, dup, ba, dup. And then the client would, like, oh, that is a great point. Well, let's do that. And I'm like, how'd you do that? And he just had a very easy, natural talent socially. Right. And that's something that I had to work on a lot to get to the point where I could move around in creating in a way that got to an end result that I could see and help guide people through there rather than just simply do it, myself
Right.
and then have the results, which was really hard. Let's see, what was the next thing I had on here? There's so many commonality questions to compare
I know.
experience that they flood through so quick. I'm like, hold on to that one. But okay, so when you shoot, you said you're constantly thinking for publication when you shoot for clients.
Yeah.
And now the dynamic that I found when I started was that I came in right at the end of where publications were really commissioning for
Like
photo
paying for
shoots.
shoots. Yep.
Yeah, now it more so in the architectural world, it seems like architects cover the production cost and
Yep.
then hope to farm them out. And they hope to use a photographer that knows, hey, we'd like this one to go in Dwell. So can we
Yep.
shoot it like Dwell would want, And then
Yep.
the photographer will generally have contacts with people there they can run it past that they trust. How's that been for you, kind of coming to determining how you shoot? Because a commercial architectural firm is going to have a shot list that's going to, like,
Right.
I shoot a lot for commercial and residential. And so depending on the website output that's all they care about, and presentations for landing new work or
Right.
publication. How do you shoot differently depending on the client in that sense? Do you get a real clear idea ahead of time from them where they'd like this to go, or how's that
Yeah,
conversation go?
that's definitely part of our pre-production discussion is, in an ideal world, where would this live? And usually I try to give designers, especially ones that don't have a huge portfolio, give them a realistic view of what, okay, yeah, of course everybody wants to be an AD. Let's drill down a little bit more about, what, not even what's realistic, but just expand beyond, the 6 top titles. Expand your mind.
Mm.
We just had a big feature picked up for American Farmhouse, 10-page spread. Great. It's not AD, it's not Sunset, but it's a big win, I think. And full projects are just hard to place now. Single image pickups are much more likely as well. But yeah, and part of what I started doing this year with our business is I've hired a PR firm that's based in New York, and we place single images and projects. So they're the ones that place the American Farmhouse project. So they're also guiding me and helping me pitch to the right places for clients. So that's been a huge payoff. And that's PR was something that a lot of designers, struggle with, obviously. And, and a lot of smaller design firms, adding on a, $6,000 or $7,000 a month retainer, they might not need that much help, so we've, this was part of my, when I talk to designers, on shoots, it's okay, what is the community needing? What is the ask right now? And that's when we started doing video and websites. So it was, that was our next step was the PR. And so now I have even a better idea of what editors are looking for and what's getting picked up and what they're looking all the asks that are going out for project pickups.
Yeah, that idea of PR, I had the idea of video a long time ago when the cameras that we were using started to be very, very video capable. I was like, oh,
Yep.
Okay, this is going to be a thing that we need to understand and be able to offer. But then to add now, how do you manage that? Is that so you've engaged with a separate entity to
Yep.
take your images of clients' work and try and place them.
Yep.
And then you get payment from like
The
AD
client.
or whoever might pick something up, but then you're also paying a fee to the PR agency.
Yeah.
Do you budget that into projects essentially and pass the cost on to the client for just like individual per project?
If we're doing just individual image placement fees, so like if
Oh,
House Beautiful, they put a call out for you know eclectic frame ideas, like that. They're all these
oh,
editors are trying to push out content constantly, and so there's
yeah.
just constant asks for. I mean, I've had 20 holiday placements this year because
Hmm.
all editors want at the end of the year are holiday imagery. And this project
Right.
I shot 3 years ago has been plastered all over the place. Um, so
Hmm.
and so then those individual placements I bill the clients for. And it was just kind of like, it's low stakes for them, right? It's like, again, they're not paying that retainer and having to like manage that, you know, that part of their business. And then I'll do like a separate project fee if it's like a full project, like the farmhouse one that we just got placed.
Hmm.
So I am passing some of it on to the client, but then, I'm also using that PR to, promote my business
Yeah.
as well. So I'm kind of getting the best of both worlds, because I was like, I have a huge library of imagery and nowhere for it to go. And,
Right.
so it's, if there's a weird ask that an editor wants, my team is usually like, oh, I bet Lauren has something, like home libraries and, whatever.
Right.
The asks are endless.
Now, how do you manage the keywording and finding of those images? Is it just simply a AI thing today?
No, I haven't implemented AI into my library yet.
Hmm.
It is. I'm a little bit of a Luddite with it. I'm not. I'm.
Sounds like me. It's all
I'm.
up here, isn't it?
It
It's
it's
just kind of,
it's in here. It's in. I can like
yeah.
see the first shot of a shoot in my library, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know. Like, I don't know. I think also we spend so much time with all these images. I do most of my own retouching, and so I'm very intimate with all of the images, and I'm like, oh, built-in bookshelves in San Francisco Victorians. I can recall like 6 projects. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
it's not technical at all.
That's funny because the thing that I've found, like you have a running Rolodex of all the images you've ever taken, and you can probably look at any image and know the point on Earth where that was
Yeah.
taken. Yeah, which is really incredible when you think about it. The amount of images that we take, and you can look at any one and know the architect, the time of year, the date.
Yeah.
It's very odd. Um, Now, I had a good question coming into that. What was that? So we're talking about management of those into that. I have to go back to my list. I have a hard time holding on to thoughts. Oh, that's what it was. Working as a creative, what's the most difficult part of your own personality and psychology that makes you good at what you do, but is also something that you have to manage in some way? And this is coming like I'm seeking my own solutions to my own issues to
Right.
see if
Right.
other
Right.
photographers experience the same kind of stuff.
um. I mean, I do think kind of what we were talking about earlier. For me, the slowing down while
Hmm.
working has really it was kind of an Achilles heel for me for a while. I think also because when I was starting, I was shooting volume, Airbnbs
Hmm.
and Sonder and stuff like that. but yeah, I think my pacing was what I needed to slow
Mm,
down to then, because I would get like anxious, and if I was going too fast, it wasn't good for me, even though that was my kind of default mode, was to be fast.
sure,
Um,
sure.
so I think that's been kind of my biggest change in trying to, and it calms my mind down too, not just, my
Mm.
physical body, and it really helps me to be more present with the work, and it's helped a lot, but I still struggle with it for sure.
Yeah, I personally I found the ease at which I'm distracted because I'm constantly so interested and curious about everything that it's hard to stay
Mm,
focused. And I think that aspect I'm quelling, if that's the right word,
yeah,
with that when I'm shooting on a project, I'll have a smaller camera that I run around with. And it's kind of like, all right, distract yourself a bit, like, ooh, all the things. Now come back and focus on
yeah,
the big camera for a bit, check in. Okay, now go distract. For me, that's been helpful to manage that part of it. The imposter syndrome is a really odd one that only after about 15 years of this that I've been able to kind of get past that. Okay, I think I might have some talent and I
right,
might be valuable at this. It's a weird one to admit and feel to
yeah,
yourself that like no, I have talent. This isn't just something I like and I'm lucky to do. It's also something that I'm valuable at, that I can exchange that
yeah.
value. And it's not just someone's not going to look behind a curtain and be like, oh, okay, now we don't need you anymore. You
Right,
know.
right.
So that, and then the I think the constant need for new experiences is something that I would imagine would be common in photographers,
Yeah,
especially that the creative outlet that we work through is such an immediate, it sounds like that even,
right,
when you're
right.
doing it. It's so quick. But there's a lot that goes into that little quick moment of capture it's really your whole life experience being, focused on a single capture each time. It's
Right.
a weird way to think about it, but that newness of experience will prevent you from being a good employee because you can't
Well,
do the
that's
same thing over and
again, I
over.
can't do the corporate thing. I love being in different places all the time.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
That's
yeah,
phenomenal, and especially with what we do, it's a high end service with the designers have high end clients, and you get to see the most beautiful things, which is super super special.
yeah. And then the other thing that's super cool. I mean, usually every single day is a new location
Yeah,
project. In even at the end of a project, sometimes I'll think to myself, if I had to go back and do that tomorrow, I wouldn't enjoy it. But since I, just did it today and you don't know what's
yeah.
coming, you're just like, whoa, this is great. But as soon as you go to repeat it, navigating the nuances of licensing and contracts. How rough has it been getting to a
Mm.
point where you can set the proper boundaries and like all the legalese mumbo jumbo that we have to be able to do all this?
I think once I really spelled out the the share costs for, like, if the contractor, if the
That's a hard
architect
one.
and designer, so once I really spelled that out on my rate card, and like was very clear with the parameters,
Hmm.
I ran into less things like afterwards, when I would see it on a contractor's website, or somewhere else
Hmm.
that wasn't authorized. So I feel like I've gotten a lot better at putting those boundaries up at the beginning, even though, of course, it's in my contract. I have an amazing attorney that, I've gotten compliments on my contract. I mean, he's great.
Oh yeah.
So, the designer's like lawyer husband looks at it. She's like, "Oh, he said that was a really good contract." I was like, "Great." Um,
Not what I wanted
but
compliments on, but sure, I'll take it.
yeah, yeah. but I think the hardest thing I've run into licensing wise is the bigger brands that won't
Mm,
pay for anything.
yeah.
Um, and I have to pick my battles sometimes. But I've run into, once I started really having the conversation and spelling out the licensing requirements ahead of time before we even have a pre-production call, or like, it's all very clear in my wording, and I feel like that's helped a lot. At least, like, when somebody's like, oh yeah, we'll just send those to the contractor, and I hear that a lot on shoots, and I'm like, so let's talk about licensing. It's an education thing. A lot of designers, they're just, they don't know. So you have to educate.
Yeah, let's see. If we were to share horror stories of that, when I was starting out, I had a lot of, I don't know, I probably shot 50 or so real estate shoots, if not more. Um, and there was this one, I'd always try and see if there was a way to resell the images after. Because
Yep.
I did get my start initially with I knew how architects would buy and what they would pay, but I also knew that I wasn't quite yet at the level to offer that to them. So I knew,
Mm.
like, all right, stay out of that until I can present myself properly. Play with the real estate agents here first. And I had one where this guy had done a really, high-end log home on a lake in New Hampshire, and he was essentially a developer. And somehow I had some scouting shots, and I saw, like, there was like a Ferrari in the garage and stuff, and I was like, okay, this is a valuable thing. Maybe the
Yep.
homeowner wants images, or and I found out the guy was a developer, so he has a website and everything else. I was like, oh, great. And so I contacted him ahead of time, said, hey, if we get more than the real estate agent needs, are you going to want to, just ahead of time to know how much effort we should put into it? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll potentially buy a ton, shoot a ton, all you want. That'd be great. So we ended up, getting there at, like, probably somewhere around 3:45 a.m. because in the summer in New England, the sun comes up super early.
Yep.
And we didn't leave till, like, probably 11 or so that night after dusk shots and everything. It was a hellacious day. And the guy ended up just taking like 3 or 4 images, not paying us, saying it wasn't what he
Ugh.
wanted. But then he took the images and put them, like, front and center on his webpage like 3 months later. And, I had to use a lawyer and blah, blah, blah. And, it kind of tarnishes your own reputation if you need to get litigious, and you always worry about
Yeah.
that. But I just had to do it, move on. And then I had one other thing after that. And so from those two experiences, I found a way to really word everything very clearly and highlight, like, actual colored
Yep.
highlight in my contract to let people know, like, these are only for you. You cannot give, sell, or share with any
Yep.
other entity. Like, and it's always the contractors that will usually be a little bit more on the infraction side of that, because
Yep.
their work is more like, I made this, you bought it, do whatever you want with it. It's yours now. It's
Right.
a different working relationship, and I understand that, and that's fine. But most everyone I work with now has all those things understood, and we don't have to worry about it too much. But it was a struggle to get there,
Yeah.
to
I
have
feel
to go
like
through those things.
I feel like interior designers, a lot of the coaching and programs that I know that they go to, and panels and, business of home things and workshops and stuff,
Right.
are talking about it a lot more the last, 5-10 years. So I think I've found more designers are like, no to ask, at least. And, a
Right.
lot of times on our discovery calls, that'll be something that we talk about.
Now, coming in, being more youthful in this business, we'll say, how have you found your professional interaction for clients translating into the social media sphere? Because it's a real outlet now that's kind of primarily, it seems, their main outlet of advertising today in
Yep.
many cases. that, especially for like residential architects, they're not,
Yep.
I would imagine it's more so like their Instagram and other feeds that are drawing attention and getting them awareness regionally. Because it's most
Yep.
of the designers are looking for work regionally. It's not a lot of
Right.
national stuff until you're in a completely different
Really big firm.
echelon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so video coming into that as well now with, reels and everything. How have you found the progression of your business model and what you offer through media, either still or video, and how it works into social media?
I mean, now my like tirade on shoots is that Instagram made us go to a square for so long. Now they've got us. Now we got to go vertical. What's not, and really how we see and how you experience spaces is horizontal. So it's like,
Yep.
they've really I've had to shift how I will set up certain shots to make sure that we get that vertical shot, because it is so important for my clients to promote it in the best way possible vertically. um
Right.
and then with video, that's so with the video, when I added that on, I found somebody else to do it, because I was like, I'm not learning Final Cut. I'm not trying to like make a whole new, take on a whole new skill set right now. I was really trying to focus on running a small business and photography is my largest margin thing that I do. Um, and so with video, I think our biggest struggle has been the production quality that we want to provide is not, it doesn't look like user generated content. It's much more polished, and so it's
Hmm.
not, my videographer is not like running around with her cell phone on a gimbal. It's like
Right.
we're miking everybody up, we're making sure the shots look really good, like we're treating it compositionally like a film rather
Hmm.
than just like a quick social clip, even though that's what it'll
Yep.
get kind of cut down to. But yeah, it's been interesting, and definitely some people are more inclined to have a lot of personality on camera. So that's
Mm.
there's certain people that like all the designers are like, I have to do video, I have to do video, and it's like, well, do you like, is that really your like, is that your personality? Is that like what you would naturally want to do? Or I feel like video has been a lot of like, I know I have to do it, so it's kind of like,
Mm.
what it's like, I know I have to post on Instagram. Um, so yeah, it's been interesting, but I feel like the people that have leveraged it well and have like really, really like pushed out the content multiple times, have a pretty good success rate. But usually I'm asking like, well, what's the goal with it? Are we just doing a website banner? Like, what are you trying to show on social media? Like, are you trying to land an agent? Are you trying to, start building your following for a TV show? Like those are the things that,
Right.
people are using social for. Um, so yeah, it's a whole different beast, and
Mm.
yeah, it's been interesting.
I find that most of the video that we do is kind of like it's essentially B-roll, really
Yeah,
controlled camera movement through interior spaces. When we do come to having voiceover or interviews, standard kind of mic up,
right.
light, and everything. But I do find the entry level value for designers is what I've found is I'll hire another assistant for the day and I'll have them run the video camera. And for every still composition that we get through photography, I'll use that as the work that we use to find the composition. And then we'll take out the still camera, put in the video camera, and either pan, focus, pull,
Right.
riser, push, whatever. add some movement. And it's a very, very cost effective way to like, let's just add some video in there and you can have nice reels. Now, later, if you want us to come to your office and do interviews and create more
Right.
of a thing and we can engage with a storyteller, okay. But yeah, getting the video and the use of drone and everything else on site day of, we found that we can make really nice, B-roll kind of glory footage of the
Yeah.
projects, but they're always limited to like 2 minutes to 3 minutes because you can't, no
You
matter
can't
how
do anything
pretty it is,
longer.
it's really hard to
Yeah.
form a story and keep attention span past that unless there's some really, really unique, crazy thing about it. So, let's see. That's pretty much all the questions that I had from your intro and in general. But I'm wondering, like, the commonality of experience between two architectural photographers, interior photographers as well. What's the best part and worst part about doing what you do? For like a quick question round.
That's a good one. I do think the best part of what we get to do is like the constant change of scenery. And I think,
Mhm.
that's a personal thing too, depending on your personality. My husband's great at working at a desk. Um, I'm not. It's a good balance.
Yep.
Um, I think the hardest part is a little bit of that imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
or the because it's a personal creative thing also that we do, even though we're producing a product for, work product for a client. um
Yeah.
it's like, well, do they like me, like, and I think
Yeah.
that was part of the encouragement I've gotten from the PR, working with a PR firm, is like, I was like, oh, editors just don't like me, I don't have any talent, like, it's, it's over.
Yeah.
So
Guess
I
I'm gonna
think,
get a job at Starbucks.
I mean, yeah. So, definitely, I think the imposter syndrome, and I think that's for a lot of creative people. Designers feel the same way, I know.
Yep.
And I have a great group of interior photographers that we have a group chat, and we all feel that for sure. And I think,
Mm.
when a month is a little slow, it's like, oh my God, like, everybody hates me, it's over.
Yep.
So, that roller coaster can be kind of a lot sometimes.
It's so odd to me that the commonality of psychological things that put you in a place to be able to do photography well. And it's not even that like, oh, I always had a great eye for composition and loved understanding light. Like the first things that come up for some reason with most photographers is that I can't go do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And when you can do it and in this thing you find that you can do, then it's imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Why is that? That is so strange to me, but it is common for every single photographer I know.
Yeah.
It, and it's a weird burden, but it's a gift that is able to get us here at the same time.
Right.
It's a weird, I don't know what to do with that, but kind of be thankful that I
Let
have
me
it.
know if you find out.
Yeah, no, it's weird because it's given me in a way, it's a part of me that's helped me achieve what I've wanted to achieve, but it's like a thing that if I didn't achieve, I'd still be uh laden. I'd still have that anxiety of like stuck in the same place, burning.
Right.
And it wouldn't really be the burning of I have to go out and take images. It's more so I'm freaking out because I'm doing the same thing over and over and I
Yeah.
can't take it. There's something in that allows you to like, I think it's like you're constantly maybe looking through the same tool, but you're looking at something new every time. And it's something
Right.
about that feedback. Maybe, I don't know. It's
That's
it's an odd
interesting.
thing.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do creatively with a camera when you're not being paid? How do you interact with photography if no one's paying you? And how do you find a way
Um,
to continue to sharpen that or strengthen that creative muscle through photography when you're not getting paid?
Something I started doing during the pandemic was a digital pinhole. So I
Uh-huh.
had a film. I did mostly film in college and art school for photography, and
Mhm.
so I love film. It's prohibitively expensive now. Like for me to buy a roll of film, get it processed, get it scanned. It's $50. Um,
Right.
so I started doing digital pinhole. So I use an old camera, and it's just kind of it's a little bit point and shoot, and you kind of get a little bit of the thrill of, is it going to come out? And even though it's digital and you can see it right away, but it's been really fun. It's a very like ethereal look, very film and almost like
Mm.
watercolors. So definitely one where you travel, I always try to bring my digital pinhole, and that's been really fun. When we went to Maine a few months ago, that was some of my favorite digital pinholes on the beach.
Huh.
So yeah, I really enjoy doing that.
And where do you find an outlet for that creative work that you find is a valuable feedback process for that creative process and something that keeps you intellectually and emotionally engaged in doing it? Because I've found that Instagram I just burnt out on. Like
Yeah,
I don't enjoy the like, oh, I gotta post something. I
yeah,
enjoy I want to go out and see what I see. And if it's good enough to say I've seen something new that I think the rest of you can see, then I want to share that. But I don't want to have to feel like I gotta post, and then I gotta hashtag, and then I gotta keep up
right,
with like all that stuff is not my value. Yet the algorithm and social media and everything else wants me to be that person to be able to
right.
provide this. And if I'm not getting what I need from jumping through those hoops, why am I doing it? And I'm trying to find like a good way of encouraging me to continue to like, I don't feel like going out and shooting unless I know there's something useful in the process that I can
Mm,
share. Right. And
right,
I feel now that when I share on Instagram, it's just shouting into the void that like, oh, I
right.
didn't have the right algorithm. And even if this was the most amazing picture that had been taken in all of history, you might get 5 likes if it's not tagged right. That's not
Right, right.
have you found any outlets that work better or give you more fulfillment?
Um, I think when it comes to social media, I have a different account that my daughter and I run a little free bakery. And so each week we make cookies, and we have, the little free library outside our house, and we put out fresh cookies.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah.
so
I see
actually
those all over California.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
like it's like
that's
a big mailbox, but it's just
yeah.
like, yeah, yeah.
So we're doing that every week, and actually photographing the cookies and posting on there, and that's given me really positive feedback. It's healed a little bit of my social media angst, because I look at Instagram as work.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't get the dopamine hits. It's like I get the dread hits. It's like, oh, why didn't I get that
Mm,
job? Why is this person
yep,
doing
yep.
this, and why does this designer do that? And so I think reframing into something totally different has helped me get over a little bit of the social media anxiety. But yeah, because
Mm,
it's hard for us. It's work.
yeah,
It's not always necessarily pleasure.
yeah. That it's such a hard thing to realize, like, oh, this is a thing I enjoyed that's a hobby. But then if you can make a living out of it, you're like, yes. And
Yeah,
then you make a living off it and you're like, oh, I don't enjoy it anymore. And then you have
yeah,
to fight to get back there. because it is your value and you used to enjoy it. And
Right.
I've found a way back there to be able to enjoy it. And I've found a way of deeply enjoying it. I just haven't found the right channel to put it through, because I
Yeah.
feel like it's more valuable than the BS that Instagram, it's like
Yeah.
all of a sudden the algorithm changes and you're getting 0 likes compared to, it's just like,
Right.
who it's the same thing why I didn't want to work in a corporate environment, like to go from this level up to the next level. Who's making that decision? And oh,
Right.
they had a nephew there, so they got it instead of me. And like, I don't want to be in that system. And I
Yep.
feel like the algorithm, Instagram, and everything else now is just kind of if you can game it rather than actually produce incredible photography. That's what I do. You know of any really good outlets for photography on app platforms or anything else these days that are
I mean,
worthwhile other than Instagram?
I feel like I've gotten a lot of I've gotten active on Reddit, and I did this really cool project where a developer paid me to do strictly artistic photos of this big terminal that he was renovating on the Oakland
Ah,
waterfront. I don't
those
know
are
if you know
great.
Brooklyn Basin. So
Yeah.
I documented the from pre demo to all the way through to the end. I would go every few months, and so I've started sharing these old photos that from like 2016 or something. These old photos on Reddit, on the Oakland subreddit, and
Mhm.
everybody's just super supportive and nice and friendly and loves to see it. And they're always like, post more, post more. It's I don't know. I've I feel like Reddit's a little bit of an equalizer, but that could just be my
Yeah.
my particular Bravo and Oakland algorithm on there.
Well, and the other thing is you're not dealing with the entire world in what you're doing. It's people probably closely associated with Oakland that more
Exactly.
highly appreciate, and that's like my son is a really good nature photographer he's developing it and really really loves it, and it's so beautiful to see him just every day. He loves to just go out in the woods and see what he can find, and he just loves the process. Super cool to see. But how do you make a living off of that? How do you get that out there? How do you the whole thing is just in the same way, I guess, if my dad had thought like you're going to make a living off of taking pictures of architecture, like when I told him I
Yeah.
was going to be a photographer, his first response was, a audible laugh, just because it wasn't in his wheelhouse of ideas for providing for a family that I would jump into at
Right.
27, So I get it, but luckily in the first year I made more than him, and I was reminding him of that. So, but yeah, it's I found with my son, he's been going to a camera group here in Portland, Maine, that it's all like they're all over 50. There's
Right,
like
of
not a
course.
single
Yep.
person, you know. But like they put up images each week and then they have judges go through it and they're really critical. Like they're not mean, but they're like, this
Yep.
could have been better because, or this one's great because, and it's a real like you're there. And so no one's just like dogging you, and like
Yep.
you get real feedback and real people standing behind their images and they give their idea of why it's good or why it isn't. And I found that to be, oddly really rewarding, because I'm not a type of person who likes to go out and socialize very much. And that has been like every day it comes up that my wife's taking him up there, I'm like, I'm just done for the day. And then she convinces me to go, and at the end of it, I'm like, that was really good.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So I think local camera groups, even
Yeah.
it's funny because I keep going, kind of thinking that people are going to be like, "Oh, you're Trent Bell, and you take profession," like they'd recognize me or something, and I'd be amazing because I get paid to do this. But it's all people who are just generally interested in photography and not really concerned about being professional or anything else. It's just the art of photography, and some people that take it very seriously.
Yeah.
And it's a great kind of way to go and interact and learn about that subject matter rather than always gauging it by likes or can I get paid to do this,
Right.
You're with a natural human community sharing what they do, and it's a really beneficial process that might be dying out with the last generation of so,
Well,
yeah.
when we get old enough, we'll be the old people in the camera group. So I think it'll be okay.
Like, we'll be getting together on Instagram at that point, and other people will
Yeah.
be telepathically getting together or something. I don't know. But well, anyways, I really enjoyed being able to speak to someone else who's gone through the same ups and downs and joys and pains of being an interiors architectural photographer, trying to getting in, and then realizing be careful what you wish for, and then having to
Yeah.
manage the now that I got it, change up to the. It's not a road traveled by a ton of
Yeah.
people. There's not groups of us that you'll find anywhere, hardly ever. And all the little difficulties that you run into are very unique and hard to find people that will have had experience and answers for the very unique little, issues that we run
Yeah.
into. So thanks for taking the time to share your experience out there in California. And
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. It's fun. So where
Yeah.
can people hear more about what you're doing and get in contact with you if they would love for you to come and shoot their amazing works of interior or exterior architecture?
My website's sencreativeco.com. And then
Fantastic.
same, yeah. And then the Instagram is at Sen Creative Co. And then on there you can see all our links to our YouTube and all the other things.
Awesome. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for taking
Thank
the time.
you.
Really appreciate it. And
Thank
let's do
you.
it again sometime.
Yes, I'd love that. Thanks,
So,
Trent.
bye-bye.
Bye.